So let's talk about the Boss Katana. I'm here in Portugal, just actually on holiday, visiting a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine, and he's roped me into doing a couple of gigs here as well, which I'm perfectly happy with because, you know, we're musicians, we like to play. And my friend Steve is a musician, keyboard player by trade, but he plays other instruments as well, and he has a guitar for me to use, a nice PRS, and he recently bought the Boss Katana. And he messaged me a few days ago saying, what do you think of that amp? And I said, a lot of friends of mine swear by it, they love it for live use. I've had a little play with it once in a guitar store. I was actually just trying out a couple of guitars, and it was all right, but I wanted to, I knew it was better than what I thought it was, so I was looking forward to trying it. And as I'm recording this, I've done a couple of performances with it, and so far, yes, it's fantastic. So the pros are, it sounds great and feels great to play through. I wasn't at any point thinking, oh, there are no tubes here. I need my tubes or my valves for us Brits. Yeah, it sounded great. Digital technology has come a long way in the last several years. And as a plug and play piece of equipment, it sounded great. But what I had noticed is, just as a plug-and-play piece of equipment, yeah, it's great. You can just plug straight in, and it's pretty intuitive. The controls are quite intuitive for you to get what you want out of it. Where it starts to get more complicated is where you start saving things, like saving presets. Now, Steve did also buy the foot switch that comes with it. It seemed pretty easy enough to save to the presets. I mean, on the foot switch, there seem to be 4 presets, and on the amp, there's only 2 buttons for 2 presets. So there is probably a way of getting to the 3 and 4. I just haven't been able to figure that out yet in the limited time that I've used it. But it does seem to save by just kind of holding down. If you want to save into preset 1, just get your tone right, hold it down, it starts flashing, press it again to save, similar to the Line 6 Spider. So that was my how I thought it was supposed to work, and when I tried it, it did work. Haven't read the manual yet, but from what Steve tells me, it can get quite in depth if you really want to adjust parameters. You can go really deep, which I think you have to plug it into a computer for that, to go really deep into your reverbs and the whole size of the reverb and what material the walls are meant to be made out of, or I don't know. But apparently it's quite in depth. As a layman user, yeah, plug and play, great. I'm sure once you figure out how to save to the other presets, it should be fine. But I look forward to exploring what else the amp can do. So from the couple of gigs that I did with it over the last couple of days, what would I change? Well, the first gig was kind of like a bluesy rock pop type gig, and the second gig was like more of a jazz gig. So what was missing to some extent was just more volume and power. Now the one that Steve has is a smaller one. I can't remember what size it is or what wattage it is. I know there are different sizes and different power versions of the Boss Katana. So I'd probably, if I was to use it live, I'd probably get a bigger one. Maybe even get a second cabinet to go with it, like something that goes underneath it. So I can use the 1x12 for just, the smaller gigs and bring the extension cab for the larger, louder gigs. And I think the Boss Katana does have that feature where you can have a separate 1x12 cabinet. I think they do a 2x12 version as well, which would be fine. I mean, it's not particularly heavy amp, so you could probably carry a 2x12. Obviously, the 1x12 is going to be lighter, so depending on your personal preferences, you have the options. Now, I believe that's what you can have. I don't know. I haven't actually looked into this yet at this point. But yeah, I think you can get a more powerful 1x12 version, and I think you can get an extension cabinet for it. And I do believe you can get a 2x12. There are those options. So if you watch this channel regularly, you'll know that I've done a lot of videos on the Line 6 Helix. So how does the Boss Katana compare to the Line 6 Helix? Well, the Helix I tend to use on in-ears, on in-ear monitors. I do have a power cab. I haven't done many performances by using the power cab as like a backline. I probably should do more with that in that case, just to try it out. But I've always kind of felt that there's not quite enough power there. Other people have disagreed with me, saying that it's loud enough. But when I compare it to my valve amps, it doesn't have the same oomph behind it. And I get nervous that if I bring it onto a gig and use it as a backline amp, it might not cut it might not be loud enough, and I kind of don't want to risk that. I should probably take it to a jam night and see what happens at the jam night, see if it's loud enough there. The Boss Katana was surprisingly loud, even that's a little small one, and even on the first gig that I did, which was arguably louder because it was more of like a rock blues gig. And it seemed to cut through. I wasn't mic'd up, by the way. The other guitarist was mic'd up and he was going through the PA. I wasn't, but people were telling me they could hear me. So maybe it is loud enough for your needs if you were to get one. What I didn't also notice is that like in most cases, the amp was on the floor by my ankles. So it wasn't pointed up at me, and I could hear it pretty well. I was just worried that people out front couldn't hear it, but from what they told me, they could hear it. Don't know how clearly they could hear it, but they said they could hear it, and I was getting compliments on the sound, so that's a good thing for Boss. So, am I tempted to get a Boss Katana? I'm intrigued. If money was no object, then yes, I would get one just for the sake of having one. Unfortunately, I'm a musician, so I'm not rich. The amp I'm actually looking at the moment is the Black Star St. James, the EL34 version with a 2x12 cab and head, because that's meant to be really light as well. So all tube amplifier. That's the one I'm kind of looking at the moment. So if I was to get an amp, I'd probably focus more on that. The Boss Katana is a lot cheaper. It's a lot more. Well, there's less to go wrong because there's no tubes to worry about. I think it might be a good jam night amp. So if you run a jam night, if you get a couple of those, I think that would be a good choice because they sound great, they feel great. There's less maintenance because they're all digital, and they're light. So if you're carrying a couple of amps, if you're running a jam night and carrying a couple of amps, it will definitely save you back a little bit. Because yeah, in my 20s, I wanted to have all the gear and bring it to a gig, and then you bring all the gear to a gig and you realise, hold on a second, I can't turn it up as loud as I can't turn it up to it. I can't use all 100 watts. Okay, and I've got to carry it around with me everywhere. I don't get to use all the features, and I can't turn it up as loud as I want to, and I've got to carry it everywhere and unload it and reload it, and it takes up loads of space. So as you get older, you realise that, you know what, I don't need all that gear. I just need the core gear to get my tone. And I guess the Boss Katana kind of has that, everything you need. It's got effects on it as well. So if you want to have some effects, some basic effects, and I do believe you can add the effects to the presets as well. So if you've got 4 different sounds you want, you can just save them to the presets. I don't know if there are banks. I don't think there are any banks, but I haven't looked into it yet. But if you just want a basic amp, just with basic sounds, I say basic. You can do probably more. I mean, if you want basic sounds, you've got it, and it probably does more than that as well. Conclusions: Boss Katana, yeah, thumbs up. I like it. For what I do, I'd probably get a bigger version, more powerful version. I guess because it's digital, you can just turn it down if it is too loud. But I like to have the headroom and the possibility of going more if necessary, depending on what kind of music you play. I tend to play a variety of music, so I kind of need the volume sometimes. So I'd want more. And generally speaking, I like having like 2 1x12 speakers in some form. Either 2 1x12 speakers or a 2x12 on stage. It just kind of, not so much for the volume, but just for the presence of it, so you can really feel it's there a bit more and it's not struggling to stay on top of the band. But that's just me. And it's light, which is something I kind of look for now in gear, in guitars and in amplifiers. I haven't tried it with pedals yet. I have a friend who uses it with the Helix, I believe, and maybe just uses the Boss Katana as a speaker. I should probably ask him how he gets on with that, but that's one way of using it as well, I guess. Yeah, so all in all, yeah, I like it. And if money was no object, I would just get one just to have one, because it's very convenient. Very good home amp, because you can adjust the volume as necessary. You can get to bedroom levels, and then you can take it out on a gig and crank it. It's got this power stage thing where you can kind of set it to 50 watts, 25 watts, and half a watt, I think. And I think that's meant to represent 50 watts of tube power, or 25 watts of tube power. I think that's what it's meant to represent. Obviously, it's digital, so there's no tube, so it's the equivalent of what you'd have if it was a tube amp. But yeah, I really like it. I'm very impressed, and you might want to check it out as well. Anyway, from here in Portugal, thank you for watching. If you've got this far, thank you very much. And if you have got this far, please show your love, if there is any, hitting that like button, that thumbs up button, and I would love it if you subscribed as well, if you want to, for more content like this. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.